morning, good afternoon, good evening. Yesterday, I had the picture you see on the screen there as a basis for a discussion. And it has generated a lot of response, particularly from the Chamisa Chete Brigade. The usual accusations have come thick and fast. One of the enduring one is that I'm obsessed about Chamisa. I should leave Chamisa alone. Chamisa is not in power. It is Zanu PF who is in power, and I should concentrate on Zanu PF. Well, it is true. Chamisa is not in power. His opposition, Triple C, or those at least who are still saying they're faithful to him, they follow him, they've been reduced to just a few. So their influence in government is, to say the least, negligible. So why am I obsessed with Chamisa? Well, people must understand that the 2023 elections were about Zanu PF rigging the elections and getting away with it. Those are two distinct aspects. The rigging of the elections, we all knew Zanu PF was rigging the elections because we had not implemented any democratic reforms to stop them rigging the elections. And we've known this all along. The second aspect of getting away with the rigged elections, the one thing that contributed to Zanu PF getting away with the rigged elections in 2023, 2018, 2013 is the participation by the opposition. That point cannot be overemphasized. The 2023 elections, SADC and the AU election observers, besides the other election observers who have condemned the elections in the process, they also joined in and condemned those elections as flawed and illegitimate. This was an important report. But what we cannot deny is that they could not go one step further and deny Zanu PF legitimacy. Because Zimbabweans had participated in those elections in their millions. Nearly 2 million Zimbabweans voted for Chamisa. You cannot sweep that under the carpet. And those 2 million participated because they believed what Chamisa told them, that he had plugged all the vote rigging loopholes. Triple C was going to win big. That is at the heart of it. So in this particular case, what happened post those election results, the fact that Sabangu went on to ambush many of Chamisa's winning Triple C candidates, slapped some with recalls, and some had to resign in a panic because they knew they were not going to survive. There was no way Savango was going to let them continue in their position. Is another matter. The damage was done by participating. Some people don't appreciate that, but whether they appreciate it or not, it is true. And SADC and the AU could not say to Zanu PF, or the elections were flawed and illegal, and therefore then we're not going to give you legitimacy or political recognition, which is what this did in 2008, leading up to the GNU, because MDC, Triple C supporters had participated in those elections in their millions. So come to this position now, the present position. We are looking at 2028 elections. As long as Chamisa is able to con his followers, the same 2 million who participated in 2023, if he can con them to participate in 2028, Zanu PF will once again get away with another rigged election. We have got a choice here. We can either stop Zanu PF rigging the elections, but clearly there's no opportunity to do that. Or we can make sure that they do not get away with it as it happened in the past. And that, the best way to ensure that is to make sure that the so-called Chamisa Chete Brigade are forced to open their eyes and their minds to the reality that Chamisa lied to them, to con them to participate in these flawed elections in the past, and notably in 2023. That is the reason why I'm focusing on Chamisa, and I'm not obsessed about him. There's nothing to be obsessed about. So to come back to the message that Chamisa is giving there in that video, in that picture, the two key points that I mentioned there is Chamisa, unlike in the past, he is admitting that he is an ordinary citizen. I am only a citizen. This is a far cry from his usual, I am an anointed by God. And coming cloaked with biblical verses and the usual hashtag, God is in it. In this message, he did not give a biblical verse quotation, nor did he finish the message with the usual hashtag, God is in it. That is a significant change. But to come back to some of the Chamisa Chete Brigade response that I've had in the last 24 hours. The usual response of being abused, being called Zanu PF agent, or you hate Chamisa, you're jealous of him, There was one from somebody who claims to be a reverend, a man of the church. And in this one here, is arguing that I should forgive Chamisa. This I find to be an outrage. I am being asked to forgive Chamisa. Forgive him for what? And I am the one who is supposed to be the person who is doing something wrong? It is nothing wrong with saying Chamisa and company have sold out to the nation. Because it is true. Zimbabwe is a failed state because we've failed to stop Zanu PF rigging the elections. Chamisa and company were elected these last 25 years to do exactly that. Their number one purpose was to implement the democratic reforms to stop Zanu PF rigging the elections. They failed to do so. And how anyone can say that I'm not forgiving Chamisa. Forgiving for what? I'm only saying the truth. Chamisa lied to his followers to con them to participate in 2023 elections. Chamisa is a liar. He himself admitted that Zanu PF rigged the elections. Proof that he had lied. You cannot have it both ways. You cannot say, I have plugged the vote rigging loopholes, Zanu PF will not rig these elections. And then the next minute you say, oh, Zanu PF rigged the elections. Those two statements cannot sit side by side and be correct. It's either the first time when you said you plugged the vote rigging loopholes to stop Zanu PF rigging the elections, you lied. Because Zanu PF, you're admitting, did rig the elections. So what is it exactly I'm being asked to forgive Chamisa? This has nothing to do with forgiveness. What this reverend is asking is that we, or people like myself, should join the Chamisa Chete Brigade and turn and sweep what they've done in the past under the carpet. Pretend it never happened. Because of his personality cult mentality. These people believe that leaders like Chamisa are demigods who can do no wrong. And therefore then to say that they sold out, much worse that they lied, is an outrage. It shows that I'm jealous. I do not forgive. It's not for me to forgive. I'm just stating the truth. They just don't want to hear the truth spoken. But worst of all, what this reverend is saying is we should all pretend that Chamisa never lied, that they never sold out, so that come 2028, they can carry on. They can con the 2 million people to believe that, yes, this time Chamisa is going to win the election and participate in the 2028 elections and thus perpetuate the dictatorship. That is what this reverend is really saying. Forgiveness has got nothing to do with it. This is just the personality cult mentality. In this case here, being misrepresented in reference to the Bible, the culture of forgiveness. This has nothing to do with it. I asked the Reverend and all the other Chamisa Chete Brigade members there to accept the political reality that Chamisa lied to them and conned them to participate in flawed elections, knowing fully well that the process is flawed, knowing fully well the consequences would be to give Zanu PF legitimacy and perpetuate the nation's suffering. That is the challenge that we are facing in 2028. Stopping him conning the 2 million. To allow him to do so under the false pretense that it is forgiveness is the most idiotic argument one can give. So I remind you again, this is what Chamisa said just a few days before the 2023 elections.
Makorokoto Zimbabwe nokuti hakuna munhu anomira kana denga raronga plan denga harifoiri plan yaMwari haifoiri ini ndatanga kugadzira cabinet. There is no way we are not going to form a new cabinet. There is no way we are not going to have a celebration. There is no way we are not going to have an inauguration. Let's start preparing for our inauguration. Let's start preparing for our celebration.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chamisa was lying. Chamisa lied about plugging the vote rigging loopholes. He lied about CCC winning big, just to con people to participate in flawed elections, to give Zanu PF legitimacy and perpetuate the nation's suffering. Biggest challenge is to make sure that he does not lie and con people to participate in 2028 to give Zanu PF legitimacy and perpetuate the nation's suffering. That is the challenge. Think about it. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.